Now, one of the things that a lot of leftists like to say is that you need to get educated bigot. The implication is that unless you go to an institution, which is called a university, and you get into student debt, and you pay money to the professors that obviously do not do it for any financial reason, they're just there in order to educate the masses. They have no political agenda or anything like that, there is no corruption in institutions. There is no other reason than the professor wanting to teach the new generation to be free thinkers, of course, to just open their mind, to turn them into superhumans. So unless you do that, then you're a bigot and you lack the education. But the findings are exactly the opposite. It shows that the more educated a person is, the more likely they are to be a bigot. And one of the stats that actually shows this the best is this particular one where they look at how many friends believe the same political views that you believe. And as you notice with Democrats, the more educated they are, the more likely it is that all their friends share the same political views. Kind of reminds me of what happened with the Godot community manager, which doesn't like the fact that other people with different views exist, and if it was up to him, he would probably have a final solution by now. I'm not kidding. Like the man is unhinged, but yeah, it's not uncommon. Let's put it like this. Like many people that I have seen, which are educated and happen to be left-leaning, they're insanely bigoted. Right? I can make friends with a lot of people, but my God, especially from the grievance studies. Ugh. Those are the type of people you don't want in your company, but you want to promote to your rivals and competitors. Anyway, let's look at this findings. Apparently, almost 2/3 of Americans describe themselves as either Democrat or Republicans. And with every passing year, each side seems to dislike the other more and more. Now, if you followed my channel, you know that I go into depth and I'm explaining why this divide is becoming more insurmountable. And I give the example of two people trying to interpret a map, but they can't agree where north is. And if you can't agree where north is, there is no point in having the conversation. Having this mutual point, north, is the bare minimum to even discuss on how to interpret the map. So if you can't get past that, then there's no point in talking. And in the case of American politics, one side believes that America is good, it's a really awesome country, and it's worth protecting, while the other side thinks that America is a systemically racist, sexist nation. And if you believe that the nation state is evil, then you can't justify protecting it, because why would you protect an evil entity? And if America is evil, then the cops are evil, and the laws must be evil, and everything that is connected to that is evil. So if the divide is at the fundamental level, whether the nation state is good or not, whether the founding fathers are worthy of admiration or not, then you cannot talk about policy. Like if you disagree on the basic principle, right, that means that one side wants to fundamentally destroy what exists while the other side wants to protect it. There's no reason to talk about policy. There's nothing to discuss, right? And that was my thesis, but as I'm looking here, you get to see the huge perception gap between the left and the right, and exactly what I've been saying, right? Racism still exists in America. Huge divide. Now the difference between the left and the right, like how do they reach the divide, is that right-wingers look at the past and they see the racism in the past, and they then notice the advancements that have been done, and they assume that, well, the advancements will continue, right? Meanwhile, the left is like, well, there's still microaggressions today, or this guy got into trouble and he is black, so therefore, or I'm looking at Marvel and they're not releasing movies with enough black people, and therefore, so like this is why it's a divide. But it's also the fact that I've noticed a lot of leftists, and this study also says that the mainstream media doesn't help. So there's a lot of leftists that just parrot everything that's on mainstream media. Now, initially, I thought that it's not a lot of people that do that, but then you come to realization that no, it's almost everyone. I noticed this during COVID, right? So like during COVID, it was maddening. I saw a couple of people protesting the lockdown measures on Capitol Hill, and all they did was like they went to Capitol Hill and they stood there in silence, and the mainstream media was treating them like terrorists, right? Like CNN, MSNBC, all the alphabet soup networks were freaking out that these people are endangering the country, right? Because they're protesting against the lockdowns. Couple of days later, Floyd happens, and the same alphabet soup networks that was telling people to stay home to save grandma was now like, no, you need to go out and protest, go out and protest. And the narrative themselves started to intersect and merge. They were arguing that businesses should stay closed in order to keep people safe, schools should stay closed, but like everyone should go out and protest. I think in the UK it got so ridiculous that another content creator told me how one of his relatives recently gave birth to a son and he wanted to see his nephew. But he couldn't do that because it was illegal. However, if he really wanted to, he should have asked his relative to bring the nephew to a BLM protest, and he would meet him at the BLM protest, and that would have been fine. Like this is the level of power and control that the mainstream media has. Like it says one day you need to stay home and stay safe, and the other day it's like Ukraine to war, and everyone is just parroting it. Everyone is just like literally just parroting whatever the mainstream media is saying, and I noticed that it's a lot more on the left than on the right. But as the study shows, like the divide is definitely there. So mainstream media, education, and all of this, in my opinion, is because they can't agree on the main principles. And, you know, it's not just like whether or not America is racist or if it's systemically sexist or whatever the academics are saying, because like all of this shit is coming from the academia, right? Like you don't have like people in the ghetto going together and using words like, oh, you know what, like maybe the country is systemically racist and we need to defund the police. Like I grew up in an impoverished neighborhood. People do not use the word defund. People use we need to fuck, we need to destroy, we need to demolish, we need to burn down, you know, we need to handle business. Like that's how people speak in these areas. You kind of can tell, you know, when you're an educated person, like where the idea is coming from, based on how it's packaged. But it's not just that. It's also the fact that if you have a person that's able-bodied, right? So it's got 2 arms, 2 legs, it's got a head between its shoulders, so it's capable of working, and it's a young man, but chooses not to work. He chooses to get welfare. I'm not talking about a person that's in a situation that, you know, they're trying to find a job and they just haven't found one yet, or there's no job in their area. No, I'm talking about a person that legitimately doesn't want to work. Like, there are those people. I know the left believes them to be mythical fairies, but no, like, there are individuals like that don't want to work. Or women that decide to sleep around with 4 or 5 men just so that they can collect the benefits. Those women also exist. Again, I know that the left believes these are mythical creatures from stories and fairy tales, but no, like these individuals exist in reality. Almost all of them are left-leaning. Like almost all of them vote because it's in their interest, right? Like that's how they get the gravy train. Now, if you put a person like that in a room with another individual that's a married man and he goes to work in the wage cage for 10, 11 hours a day, and then the government takes taxes from him or prints money for other welfare programs, and his money loses value because of inflation. How can you get these 2 people to have anything in common? Like, one of the person feels as if he can't provide enough to his family, like money that should go to his family is taken away to be given to strangers that do not want to go in the wage cage. So how is it fair? You know, and the thing is, like, you see these LARPers on Twitter, and it's so disgusting. It's like, oh, well, the wage cage is evil because capitalism and blah, blah, blah. And there's even this mentality that's formed mostly on Reddit that it's actually good to be on welfare and choose not to work because this is how you deconstruct capitalism. Because, again, these people believe that America is systemically racist. So how can you find a common point? How can you even have a dialogue when the differences are that great? Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.